Okay, let's take a look at the shaded part of this number line. And from looking at the shaded part of the number line, we will be able to write the inequality notation and also the interval notation. So as I look at the blue shaded part of this number line, I see that the shaded part starts at the number 2. And then the shading extends all the way to the right. Now, the arrow on the blue shading tells me that even though the number line looks like it stops at 5, the arrow implies that it keeps going beyond 5, and it keeps going and going and going towards the biggest positive number you could ever think of. Well, that would be positive infinity. So when you're trying to figure out your inequality notation and your interval notation, you want to look at what's on the left side of the shaded part of your number line, and then you want to look at what's on the right side of the shaded part of your number line. So on the left side of my shaded part, I'm starting at the number 2. On the right side, I see that the shaded part has an arrow which points to the right, which means I'm going all the way towards the number positive infinity. So there's the symbol for positive infinity. Okay, so what that means is that the blue shaded part of the number line is shading over all the numbers that are greater than or equal to 2. So since we're starting at 2 and we're going all the way to the right, all the numbers that we are shading over are either equal to 2 or they are greater than 2. Now, let's just look at some examples on the number line. For instance, the number 3 falls in this category because it's greater than 2. The number 4 falls in this category because it's greater than 2. Now, I can keep going beyond the number 5. I could go to 6, 7, 8, 9, 200, 1,000. I can go to as large of a number as you can think of. That's why we use the symbol for positive infinity, to show that the number line will continue to increase to the right, and my shaded area will continue to increase to the right. So what that means is that I want to write an inequality notation for all the numbers that are greater than or equal to 2. So that means my x can be anything that is greater than or equal to 2. So you can see that I've inserted the proper symbol for x is greater than or equal to 2. Now let's take a look at the interval notation. When you're setting up the interval notation, you always want to have the left boundary of your shaded part of your number line, and then a comma, and then the right boundary of the shaded part of your number line. Well, on the left side of my shaded portion of my number line, the left part of my shaded portion starts with the number 2. So I'm going to use a bracket, a square bracket for my interval notation because I have a closed circle on 2, because we said we can be anything greater than or equal to the number 2. So I'm going to start my interval notation with the number 2. Now on the right side, my shaded part of my number line extends all the way towards positive infinity. So on the right side of my interval notation after the comma, I'm going to insert the positive infinity sign. And the positive infinity always gets an open parenthesis because you can only approach infinity. You can't really be equal to infinity. And we save the square bracket for numbers that we can actually be equal to, whereas the parenthesis, the open parenthesis means we either have an open circle because we're not including that number or we're going towards infinity. I hope this video was helpful.